What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the world according to Briggs. Did you know the Bureau of Justice Statistics, in partnership with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, release crime stats every year? They do. They gather up all the information about violent crimes and they organize it into a fancy spreadsheet for idiots like myself to comb over and make ridiculous videos about. Today we're taking a look at the most dangerous cities in the United States. Every year I do this list after they release their findings. In those 4 years, some have come and some have gone on the worst 10. There are about 4 of them that always seem to make the list. And there's a reason for that. These cities suck and are not safe for human beings. They're not even safe for my 40-year-old sea monkeys. I actually asked a worker at SeaWorld in San Diego if they had sea monkeys when I was like 8. The dude laughed so hard he had to sit down. My mom started laughing. I finally kicked the broom out of the dude's hand. Walked on, dick. A couple things about this list. We are going to look at the violent crime rate and how much higher it is than the national average, which in the United States, it's 382.9 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents. Now, before you leave a comment about Chicago being the worst, stop typing. It's not. They may have the most violent crimes, but they also have 3 times as many people than most of the cities on this list. So saying that they're the most dangerous wouldn't be correct, now would it? If you don't understand that, I encourage you to take a statistics class or take a look at Khan Academy. They'll explain it to you. Anyway, dangerous cities are bad, and I'm going to list the most dangerous ones in the United States for 2020 for you right now. Number 10, San Antonio, Texas. Now, I didn't see this one coming. In the times that I visited San Antonio, it seemed relatively safe and a nice place to be. It was hot, sure, but it didn't seem extremely dangerous compared to other places I've visited. San Antonio is 75 miles southwest of its neighboring city, Austin, which happens to be the state's capital. It's about 190 miles west of Houston. This city has a little over 1.5 million residents, with about 2.5 living in the metro area. San Antonio has a great downtown, and the Riverwalk is one of my favorite things to visit in Texas. It's really nice, great food, great people, just a very relaxing place to visit. My advice is stick to the Riverwalk to be safe, because if you wander in the wrong place, you might get stomped or worse. The violent crime rate in San Antonio is 65% higher than the national average. You have a 1 in 160 chance of being a victim of a violent crime in San Antonio. Number 9, Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta is situated among the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains and has one of the highest elevations of any major city east of the Mississippi River at 1,050 feet above sea level. I've always known Atlanta has some rough spots. I never thought that they were one of the most violent. While being assaulted, has ever thought, hey, what happened to all that southern hospitality? Atlanta is very spread out, and even more so when you look at all the suburbs. The city itself only has a little over 500,000 residents, but the entire metro area has over 6 million. There are good people in some incredibly nice areas in and around Atlanta. They just have some truly ugly parts that bring this whole city down. The violent crime rate in Atlanta is 102% higher than the national average. The likelihood that you will become a victim of a violent crime in Atlanta is 1 in 131. That's not a good number. Number 8, Indianapolis, Indiana. How can this place be bad? It has a world-famous racetrack, it's in middle America, and Peyton Manning made a career here. Manning's so wholesome and nice, how could this place be bad? It is. Indy has so much potential to be a better version of what it is. Every year, I see this place sliding closer and closer to that Detroit-St. Louis nightmare. If you don't know, Indianapolis is in the east-north-central region of the Midwest in central Indiana. It encompasses a total area of 368.2 square miles of suckage, actually. And it's dangerous. The violent crime here is 234% higher than the national average. Total crime is pretty high too. It's 109% higher than the national average, but 234% higher. Your chance of becoming a victim of a violent crime in Indianapolis is 1 in 79. Number 7, Oakland, California. What can you say about a city that lost the Raiders twice? Not a lot of good things. While I was researching this video, I came up with a new slogan for the city's website. Half the price of San Francisco, double the danger. Oaktown is the largest city in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area. It's where tech startups go when they didn't get enough money for their second round of funding. Side note, if there's any tech startups out there that want to sponsor my videos, I'm listening. The email's down below. Now, Oakland isn't the safest place, and you can tell by this number, 235%. Yeah, the violent crime rate in Oakland is 235% higher than the national average. Don't live in Oakland. Number 6, Little Rock, Arkansas. In 1994, HBO had a documentary called Gang Wars, Bangin' in Little Rock. And I have to admit, when I watched it, I thought it was a mockumentary. I thought this was all a big joke. Turns out, these country folks were serious about being, or at least wanting to be, gang members. So, that right there tells you Little Rock has sucked for some time now. In case you don't know, Little Rock is located on the south bank of the Arkansas River in central Arkansas. The city has almost 200,000 residents, with the metro area having about 750,000. Now, they excel in very few things. Violent crime is one of them. They are 280% higher than the national average. If you spend any time in Little Rock, Arkansas, your chances of being the victim of a violent crime are 1 in 70. The person that assaults you may not have any teeth, but you're getting assaulted. Number 5, St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, Missouri is on the western bank of the Mississippi River, which also forms the state line between Illinois and Missouri. And it's just south of where the Missouri River merges with the Mississippi River. No wonder they call it the gateway to the West. Back in the days before trains, planes, and automobiles, a good river was a great way to travel. These days, it's less of a gateway to the West, more of a gateway to the afterlife. St. Louis is a dangerous place. Some areas are really, really bad. St. Louis, though, isn't completely bad. They have some really nice neighborhoods. They just have more than their fair share of bad neighborhoods. The violent crime rate in St. Louis is 373% higher than the national average. There's a 1 in 56 chance that you will experience a violent crime while staying in St. Louis. Number 4, Flint, Michigan. Flint, Michigan is a cautionary tale for the rest of the world, maybe even the galaxy. Flint wasn't the greatest place before 2014. After 2014, it became a disaster. The Flint water crisis started in 2014 after the drinking water source for the city was changed. Flint switched from the treated Detroit Water and Sewage Department's water, which was sourced at Lake Huron through the Detroit River, to the Flint River. Officials failed to apply corrosive inhibitors to the water. As a result, the lead from aging pipes leached into the water supply, leading to extremely elevated levels of heavy metals, exposing over 100,000 residents to poisonous water, essentially. These days, they don't have jobs or good water. They do have a lot of bad water, poverty, and plenty of violence. The violent crime rate in Flint is 378% higher than the national average. In Flint, you have a 1 in 56 chance of being the victim of a violent crime. Number 3, Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore is a city that makes this list every single year, and it has been for many years. Long before I was making these videos, they had all the right stats and all the right places to make this type of list. HBO even did a cop show and used Baltimore as the setting. It was called The Wire. I've talked about it before. If you haven't watched it, you might want to. It's really good. I think they had like 5 seasons. Anyway, I'm not sure how much longer the suckage in Baltimore will be a thing. I've noticed tech companies are making B-more their new home. They bring in money, and with money comes lower crime. That's just a fact. When people have jobs and the city has money, crimes quit happening. Not completely, but the crime rate sure does shrink. These days, it's alarmingly high. The violent crime rate in Baltimore is 382% higher than the national average. In Baltimore, your chances of becoming a victim of a violent crime are 1 in 54. Number 2, Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis is starting to feel familiar when we talk about violent crime. A couple years back, while researching the place, they had an odd amount of people using machetes to send someone to the afterlife. Remember that movie Beetlejuice where they had Death's Waiting Room and everyone in the waiting room was in the condition that they were when they died? That's like this weird fear I have. I can't imagine going to the afterlife in the condition that may include a machete protruding from my dome. I imagine, I don't know, your parachute not opening or something like that would have a pretty ridiculous look on your face in that waiting room too. Memphis is a city along the Mississippi River in the southwestern section of Tennessee. It is bordered by Arkansas and Mississippi. That's like being dealt a really bad hand. I'm surprised they aren't even worse with those two neighbors. The overall crime in Memphis is 224% higher than the national average. The violent crime is 411% higher than the national average. That's brutal. The likelihood that you will become a victim of a violent crime while in Memphis is 1 in 51. That's brutal. Not as brutal as that whole machete thing, but still. And number 1, Portland, Oregon. Just kidding. We're having riots around the federal building and the police union building this week, but yeah, the rest of the city. I was down there yesterday and I saw people in the park eating lunch. It was, not a big deal. People were sitting outside at Starbucks even. Come on. Don't go anywhere near the federal building or the police union and you'll be okay. But here's the real one. Number 1, Detroit, Michigan. If you haven't heard Detroit is in bad shape, I can't help you. You might want to switch up your news source. The smoke signals and carrier pigeons ain't keeping you up to date like you should be. Detroit has been on a steady slide for many, many years. Most of the city looks like it could be used to film a season of The Walking Dead. Right now it looks just like a lot of the filming locations, just no zombies. The downtown area has made a decent turnaround, it just hasn't spread out as much as they'd like yet. Detroit is a very violent city. They don't have a lot of jobs, they've got too much open space, abandoned buildings. It's not a good place to be, especially when you hear this. Their total crime is 145% above the national average, and their violent crime is 428% higher than the national average. You have a 1 in 49 chance of falling victim to a violent crime while in Detroit, Michigan. Stay away from Detroit, Michigan. Unless you're just going to downtown, then that's okay. Alright, so that's today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Don't forget all the links below. Give the video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tell me what you thought about the video. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.